I'll quickly go into the slides. So Esther, you can help me with the slides so that we share what the agenda is and a little introduction that has been prepared by Advocacy Accelerator, who have convened us today. So we also celebrate you for the work that you're doing to ensure that our voices are also amplified as young feminists and young women working in Africa through your spaces. So quickly, just allow me to quickly read, and I may not just talk about everything that is written, but just quickly do the intro. So why African Liberation Week? Why are we celebrating African liberation? So it's to commemorate the liberation of African countries and facilitate discussions that are key to our collective material survival, our continued, albeit precarious, independence, and our advancement. I believe that all African countries are post-independent right now at the moment, but also as young people who are maybe young people and those who've been part of the struggle, maybe who are joining us, could celebrate certain achievements all through in terms of policy, but also our freedom of speech, our freedom to convene, our freedom to be who we are as African and to own our own heritage. And also what the vision looks like for Africa. The theme for 2022 aims to highlight the need for African wealth and resources to benefit her citizens, and for African citizens to take ownership and responsibility with unity of purpose. So I believe since the week started, we've been celebrating the African Liberation Week. And through that, the young feminists who are part of the Challenging Patriarchy program by Accelerator, Advocacy Accelerator, have organized a presentation which then celebrates, recognizes and celebrates African women liberators who have fought against patriarchy, shaped the current context, and also opened space for young women and girls to occupy leadership roles. So we will have a 90 minutes webinar so sorry, Rebecca, I hope that has been addressed. So we'll have a 90-minute session where we'll amplify voices of young feminists in celebrating African women liberators from 7 countries. That's not limited to 7 countries, as we'll open the space for other African countries to also celebrate their liberators during the plenary session. So we'll have Kenya, Tanzania, South Sudan, Somalia, Uganda, Ethiopia, and I see Eritrea joining us in the celebration. So Esther, the presentation has disappeared, but I'll quickly just go ahead because I had written, I think I have it on my side. So I'll just quickly share a guiding agenda for this session. So first, we've had the welcoming and introductions at the chat box. Please continue introducing yourselves and interacting with each other at the chat box. The next presentation will be from country leads under the program, who will be celebrating at least 7 women liberators from their countries that I've already named. And then we will go into plenary session where we'll also give opportunity for other African young feminists and women who've joined us to share who their liberators are, but also add into what the country leads have presented. We will then have a choreographed poem by a young woman, African woman, who speaks about Africa's liberation and part of the struggles of Africans, but what we also celebrate as Africans. After that, we will do our pledges. We know so far that we've had women and feminists and activists who've come before us, the struggles that they've gone through to ensure that they've created spaces for us to be able to speak how we speak, to mentor us. So what is our pledge and commitment during this day moving forward to make Africa a better place for other African young generations to come? So after that, we will have a dance. So they always say, what is a revolution without dance? The same thing to what is a liberation without dance? So we'll have African songs singing at the background, and then we will all share our videos and dance to the rhythm as we close. Yeah. Helen, I see you're so excited. I'm also excited. I want to see the African dance moves, right? Okay, so now into the next slide, I'd like to, in a very special way, to introduce to you our very, very first lead in presenting the Kenyan Women Liberators, sharing their stories and why they celebrate the 7 women. Welcome, Judy Lumumba. Please take the mic.
Is Judy in? Not yet.
Okay, then we'll, as we look for Judy, can we have Tanzania taking the lead in the presentation? Welcome, Monica Patrick. Kindly introduce yourself quickly and then share what, who you're celebrating today. Karibu sana Tanzania.
Asante, hi.
Hello.
So how are you doing?
Doing well. We don't know about Tanzania and yourself.
Tanzania, we are doing well. Esther?
Amazing.
Sorry, can you
Yes.
help to share the presentation that that we sent to you? So when I'm sharing, it will be easy to
Here we are
everyone.
for Tanzania.
Okay. So my name is Monica Patrick. I'm a gender activist and a founder and CEO for Women and Youth Movement, that an organization that's working on empowering youth and women in Tanzania. So as they have introduced to us, everything that today we are going to celebrate our Tanzania female liberators, sorry, African female liberators. And so because I'm from Tanzania, I'm going to represent Tanzanian female liberators that we have prepared for everyone to. Helping. Sorry, can you be unmute so we can understand together?
Yes, please go on.
I will go on. So we have chosen only few representative that we are going to share with you today. We have almost 6 women liberators in Tanzania. Okay, we are moving. So the first is Bibi Titi Muhammad. Bibi Titi was a major leader in Tanganyika nationalist movement. She led Umoja wa Wanawake Tanzania, the women wing of Tanganyika African National Union TANU from 1950, and she fought alongside with the father of the nation, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, and she was a grassroots movement leader who managed to mobilize women on the ground to protest and advocate for the leadership rights. So kiufupi kwa Tanzania wanakuwa wananielewa when I say Bibi Titi Muhammad. Bibi Titi was one of our liberator that we can celebrate today. Alikuwa ni mwanamke ambaye amepambania sana Tanzania, na kama mnavyoweza mkasoma, as you can read from our presentation that I'm sharing now, kwamba alikuwa ni mtu ambaye alikuwa anaongoza taasisi na alisaidiana na Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere ambaye alikuwa ni kiongozi wa Tanzania ambaye alisaidia kupata uhuru Tanganyika. So we are moving to another, because of time, let's move to another liberator. Esther.
You can see the screen. I think then I have a problem from my side. I'll request Brandy to please share screen.
I can see Esther. So we are going to the second person. The second liberator that we have chosen for today, she is called Siti Binti Saad. She was a Arab general for East African music in an era in which male singers predominated. She was a pioneer as a woman singer in the Guinea. She has fought against the class oppression, many abuse, and has been a positive influence on young girls that come after her. She was the first woman in East Africa to record her music in an album, and she sang in Swahili. She sang in cities of the coast of Tanganyika and Zanzibar. So Siti Binti Saad alikuwa ni mwanamke ambaye alikuwa ameipambania Tanganyika, na alikuwa ni mwimbaji ambaye yeye alianza kuimba, na alikuwa anasaidia kwa sababu huko zamani kulikuwa kuna vikwazo kwa wasanii wa Tanzania, lakini kwa kipindi hicho ilikuwa inaitwa Tanganyika. So watu walikuwa hawataki kuona kwamba mwanamke ana uwezo wa kuparticipate kwenye majukwaa mbalimbali ya muziki na akaonesha kipaji chake. So baada ya hapo yeye akapambania na akawa mwanamke wa kwanza kuparticipate na kuandaa albamu yake yeye mwenyewe, na akafanikiwa kuimba kwa Kiswahili. So tunamsherehekea kwa sababu ni mwanamke aliyosaidia sana kuwafungulia watu wengine na wasanii wengine wote waliokuja nyuma yake, wanawake wote wa kisanii. So we are moving to another, ambaye yeye ni Eriesh Rema. Yeye alikuwa tukio lake imefanyika 1949. As you can see, Eriesh was born in a village named Ndronga. She She consolidated her education by studying English literature and creative writing. She is a co-owner of a publishing house, which also operates a book cave. Her first novel for adults, Patched Earth, it's a story of love between mother and daughter, sister and brother, and between men and women. Into the novel, you can discover infatuation, obsession, depicted with a sensuality that never occurred before in Tanzanian literature. The book portrayed life between traditional and modern norms, together patriarchal oppression of women. She has created an opportunity for female writers to excel. She has been writing and editing different feminist books which highlighted the liberation of Tanzania and how women were participating. She is one of the contributors in the book of Women of Tano by Susan Jija. So huyu naye alikuwa ni mwanamke ambaye alisaidia kusaidia, yani alikuwa kitangulizi kwa waandishi wengine wote wa Kitanzania, kwa sababu as you can see alikuwa ni mtu wa nyuma sana kwetu. Kwa hiyo alivyokuja akasaidia na na akawa anasaidia katika vitabu, katika uandishi wa vitabu vingi ambavyo vinahusiana na mambo ya wanaharakati. Kwa hiyo amekuwa mwanamke na tunamsherehekea kwa sababu ameonyesha nia na amepambania waandishi wengine, na mpaka sasa hivi Tanzania tunao waandishi wengi ambao wamepata uafadhali katika kazi zao za uandishi na watu wanazipokea vizuri kwa sababu tayari kulikuwa kuna watu ambao waliwatangulia. So tunaenda kwa Gertrude Mongella ambaye yeye mpaka sasa hivi yupo na ameanza harakati 1945. So Miss Mongella was born in a small island in Lake Victoria in Tanzania. She is an educator, a defender of women's rights, a politician, and a diplomat. She serves in the Prime Minister's office responsible for women affairs from 1982 to 1985. She was a member of parliament in Tanzania, as well as in East African Legislative Assembly and a Pan-African Parliament. In 1993 to 1995 as a diplomat to the UN, she led the 4th World Conference on Women as the General Secretary and Chair, where she significantly contributed to the success of the conference and since been known as Mama Beijing. So huyu ni mtu ambaye mpaka leo tunamfahamu kwa Watanzania, tunamsherehekea na ni mama ambaye anatuongoza sana kwa wasichana wengi ambao tupo katika harakati. Dr. Gertrude Mongella, yeye tunapenda kumuita mama wa Beijing kwa sababu yeye ndo aliyesimamia na akaongoza mkutano uliofanyika wa UN. Pia alikuwa anafanya kazi katika alikuwa kashiriki vizuri na alikuwa kiongozi anapatikana. Kwa mtu ambaye yupo Tanzania anaweza kunielewa vizuri kabisa. So we are moving to another slide. I hope you are getting me.
Yes, we are, Monica. You have 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Yes. We are almost done. Another slide, please. So Anna Makinda, she's a Tanzanian politician and is the first female speaker of the National Assembly of Tanzania in office from 2010 to 2015. She was the last chairman and the first president of UNICEF at the international level from 1993 to 1994. Anna Makinda ni spika wa kwanza wa bunge la Tanzania na yeye alikuwa ni kiongozi ambaye mpaka leo tunamsherehekea kwa sababu kiukweli ameonyesha kwamba wanawake pia wanaweza kusimama na kuwa viongozi wakubwa haijalishi kwa level gani. Kwa hiyo tunamsherehekea Mama Anna Makinda na mpaka sasa hivi yupo na anaendelea kufanya mambo machache ambao japokuwa hayupo katika bunge kwa sasa hivi, ila ni mtu ambaye tunamsherehekea na kila mwanamke ana uwezo wa anakuwa proud kwa sababu tayari kuna mtu aliyekuwa amepita huko mbele yake. Esther.
Okay, I'm just having trouble. You can just present the last person as we change the sharing.
Yeah, so Anna Makinda ni 1949 ndo alikuwa spika wa bunge na wapo wengine ambao wanaendelea. Tunaye dokta ambaye yeye ametutoka muda sio mrefu mwaka huu 2022. Ni mama ambaye tuna uwezo wa kusema na kujivunia kwa sababu amekuwa ni mwanamke shupavu aliyeongoza Tanzania. Yeye ni daktari, alikuwa anafanya kazi na mashirika mbalimbali na alikuwa anafanya kazi na mashirika ya international zaidi. Kwa hiyo yeye ni mwanamke ambaye ametusaidia sana kutuonesha njia na amefariki mwaka huu 2022. Je, niangalie tarehe kabla nisije nikakosea. So anaitwa Dr. Mwele Ntuli Malechela. Yeye amezaliwa 1963, ameanza kufanya kazi 1963 mpaka 2022. She was a Tanzania civil servant who was a senior United Nations official and the director of the Department of Control of Neglected Tropical Disease at the World Health Organization headquarters in Savannah, Switzerland. So alikuwa anahusika na mambo ya afya na yeye katusaidia sana, na alikuwa pia anashirikiana na mashirika mengine ambayo yanahusika na kutetea na kuhakikisha tunakuwa na afya bora zaidi Tanzania. Kiufupi, hao ni wanawake ambao sisi kama Watanzania tunawasherehekea. Wapo wengi ambao tunaweza kuwataja. Kuna kina Rebecca Jumi ambaye yeye ni dada ambaye mpaka leo yupo katika shirika, anafanya kazi na anawasaidia wasichana wengi kutimiza ndoto zao, na pia anapigania mabadilisho ya sheria ya ndoa ambayo inamkandamiza binti na kumweka aolewe katika umri akiwa mdogo. So kuna wanawake wengi sana. We are so blessed in Tanzania na I'm so happy to be one of Tanzania, na ninajivunia kuwa msichana ninayetokea katika nchi ya Tanzania. Kiufupi, kwa sababu tunaenda na muda, pia kuna nchi nyingi ambazo wanatakiwa kuendelea kushare, so I can end in there. Thank you for everyone who have joined today, na hao ndo watu ambao tumewaandaa kwa siku ya leo. Thank you, Esther.
Asante, Monica. That's really amazing presentation there. And I see Tanzania women have been so powerful and are still so powerful. Kwa hivyo, you have women leaders who you look up to, who have paved way for you or us as young feminists to also continue with the struggle. I see their artists, their authors, their leadership rights activists, their freedom fighters. And in our African history, we don't really get documentation on women as freedom fighters, unlike men. So it's really great to see how deep you went into your research to ensure that that is documented. Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Rebecca Karagwa from Uganda to also quickly share your presentation. Kindly note, we only have 7 minutes per presenter to allow time for other presenters to also share, but also other African countries who are joining us. You're welcome, Dr. Rebecca.
Thank you so much. Can I be heard?
Yes, we can, but there's echo from your end. So I don't know whether you have two,
No, I don't.
either you have two accounts.
No. I only have one account open. So I don't know why there's an echo, but I'm sorry about that.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. First, I will say that we had so many women, but then
Rebecca, maybe you can just
on
log in with
agenda.
one
So
gadget.
try to rush through the contributions to the struggle. Help me scroll to the next slide, please.
Hello, hi Rebecca, can you hear us?
I am saying, yeah, I can hear you.
The echo isn't working. You could be maybe sitting together with a colleague or someone else joining. Maybe you can just log out from one account and listen with one. Sorry, with one gadget, just share gadget.
Is the echo still there?
No, that's perfect now. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
So help me scroll to the next slide. Lucy says there's still
Wait,
echo
is this for
somewhere.
Somalia?
Lucy, is it on my side?
Hello, is it for Somalia presentation? Because I can see the presentation for Somalia.
Okay, so I didn't share that, and this is not our
Let me
part.
just stop sharing. Just point, just having a problem with my sharing, so it was not meant to be that.
Esther, you could, I guess this is the final document that you shared with me.
No, Brandy, I don't know if you can share.
Okay. So Dr. Rebecca, as we work on the presentation, you can go ahead to introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. I can now see the presentation. For the interest of time, I will just go straight to the ladies here from Uganda. So right there is Dr. Miriam Matembe. She's a lawyer. I'll just give you a summary about her because you can read the other points on the screen. So Dr. Mira has been very instrumental in advocating for women's rights. First of all, what's inspirational about her story is that she struggled to go through school, and her family didn't want her to study. They told her to get out of school so that her brothers could study. And because of that experience, she determined to, so she aspired to go to parliament. And so first she became a lawyer, then went to parliament, through which she was able to fight for women's rights. She was part of the Constituent Assembly. So that is the time that Uganda was, like getting out of the wars, and we were sort of like starting to have an organized country. So we have this woman in the Constituent Assembly fighting so hard to have laws that recognized women's rights, and that wasn't easy because she mentions very many times of how she had to put in a lot of energy, fight, tell people about women's rights, why they needed to be in the constitution. So if it weren't for women like her, probably wouldn't be having them. And she's also, while she was a minister of ethics and integrity, she, again, well, for me, what stood out for us is the fact that she constantly looked out for women. She's authored books where she tells so very many stories of how she could look out for, you know, underprivileged women, offer pro bono, help, help those women to own property, because also that was a problem. And like even now it's still a problem, but those years it was more intense. So then you're helping women to own rights, to go to court, to demand, and so which wasn't I think then, but because of how women were able to like find their voices, seek justice, and she was there for them. So she has very many achievements to her, which are very personal, but also because she has such a strong voice and she's consistently demanding for her rights up to this day. So she's been very inspirational, at least to the women, yeah, to the country. So we could move on to the next person. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
So smooth. Can we all see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. So the next person we have is Honorable Tezra Jamal. Also, Tezra Jamal served in the Constituent Assembly. And of course, as you can see in the screen, she joined the parliament between 1996 and 2001. She's a strong advocate for women's rights, and she is also one of the founders for the Forum for Women in Democracy. So I'm going to also tell you just briefly about her. First of all, she is one of those women that inspired the generation of the Matembes, because she joins politics at a much early age, also against very many odds, because she tells her story of how she lived with a stepmom who forced her into marriage. I mean, who attempted to marry her off. They didn't support her to go to school, but she was always resisting. She applied for a job from Tororo. She goes to Kampala, as a city of the capital city of Uganda. So those years, the 1980s, she goes away from home, tries to find a job. She gets the job, and then she goes back to Tororo and engages in community work. That's how she surpasses of UWESO. UWESO is it was an organization focused on women, like women's empowerment. But also, while she was in the Constituent Assembly, so she tells a story of how they come up with a women caucus that was focused on women's rights and mobilization of women across the country, because in that time, very many women were afraid of politics. It was a men's thing. So now that they had achieved having the articles in the constitution that speak to women's rights, they now took on the labor to now do the practice, because it's one thing to have the laws, but the other thing to have women practice them. So she was such a great mobilizer in the community, and she did so much work with other women to break the barriers and inspire others to occupy space, go for elective positions. She was also the first woman to stand. So, you know, there is this thing of affirmative action where many women will choose to go on the women's ticket, but then she was the first person to choose at the time to stand on can I say the main ticket, compete against men, and she won, and that's how she goes to parliament. And she's also like a very key figure in the Uganda's women's movement. Yeah, so we thought that it's important to highlight her today. Yeah, and she's also writing a book in which she'll be able to document all their experiences and their journeys, because they're not captured anywhere in Uganda's history. Same for Dr. Miria. Dr. Miria, that was her first woman, but she has written several books and she's been able to tell her story. Yeah, so we can wait on Honorable Jama.
Hi, Rebecca. We have 1 minute for Uganda.
1 minute for Uganda.
Yes.
So, that Honorable Rhoda Kalema, she's also a renowned politician and government minister of commerce. She was also very instrumental in she's still very instrumental in the women's movement. Because of being a woman and occupying those political positions at the time, it was inspiring for other women to do the same. That's just a summary of her. So we can go to the fifth. That's Winnie Byanyima. She's a politician. She's a co-founder of one of the strongest opposition parties in political parties in Uganda. That's a Forum for that's a Forum for Democratic Change. She has also co-founded the Forum for Women in Democracy, which is also a leading organization in women's rights and empowerment of young girls to this day. She's of course a human rights activist, she's a feminist, she's a diplomat. I told you about the Women's Caucus, which was part of the Constituent Assembly. So she was a chair and she led women in, she was organizing women, because it's very hard to organize in a patriarchal setting, as you know, what politics is, but because women like Honorable Jama, who worked with her, really make mention of how she was able to organize them and lead them well, and they were able to do so many things for women under her leadership. She, of course, as you know, she's an executive director of UNAIDS, and she has also served as an ED of Oxfam International. So we go to Dr. Sylvia Tamale. She's a Ugandan academic. She's a lawyer. She's a human rights activist. She was the first female dean of the Faculty of Law, Makerere. She's also a writer. She's contributed so much to the feminist jurisprudence and women's rights as a whole, because she's written so much about feminism, decolonization, and in all her writing, she's really extremely intelligent. She articulates issues so well, and she makes the work of dismantling easy because we have a reference. She's very intelligent, and yes, even her works speak for her. So number 7, we have Margaret Sekaja. She's also a lawyer, human rights activist. She has served in different governments, Namibia, Zambia, Uganda, and the United Nations. She's chaired the Uganda Human Rights Commission. She has been appointed a judge of the High Court. That was 1995. She was also part we told you about the Constituent Assembly. So these are the women that were key and really playing the vital roles at the time. In the 80s, she served Namibia's institutions and prepared them for transition into independence. She also served as a magistrate in Lusaka, and she also has served as a United Nations Special Rapporteur for Human Rights Defenders. So Josephine Casa. So we picked on Josephine because she's not exactly like those women that were part of the struggle, founding members, but she comes much after them. And the reason is that we sort of like tend to have same women, we celebrate same women all the time. So we want to also begin to focus on many women after them. And like I said, there's so many great women, but some of them we never hear about them. And one of them is Josephine Kasia. So we found out about her that she was the first woman to lead a district in Uganda through elective politics. That was since 2001, and she was unopposed. So the story about it was that men were scared of her. So for me, that caught her attention. And then transformative in a sense that, many people hold on to power, but feminist leadership seeks to offer alternatives. If we are saying that we have to challenge bad leadership or bad political leadership, then we don't get into political positions and act like men. So we offer what is alternative and what is transformative. So in this sense, Josephine didn't contest again. She said she had served for a certain period of time, and even when she had power and resources to stand again, she chose to, she said people should have learned from her and should be able to carry on her work. Such a good gesture. So we also chose to celebrate her on this day. Yeah, thank you. That is it from Uganda.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for the great presentation. And as you can see from the presentations, I see one highlight. The powerful women are connecting the different expertise to women's rights. So they are all activists, and therefore they are demanding for spaces for other generations of women. They are demanding for the liberation of they do not just take up spaces to do what they are just supposed to do, but then they're very particular in ensuring that women and girls achieve the 100% freedom to exercise their rights in totality. So thank you so much. And I see in the chat section, there are lots of comments in there. Please take time to also read through, but I know Brandy and Esther are taking note of that, and they'll have time to quickly summarize what's in the chat box before we go into plenary. So our next speaker or presenter will be Mayan Khalif from Somalia. Mayan, kindly take up the mic. And you have 7 minutes. Please take note of time so that we get other presentations and also have time for plenary. Mayan?
Yes, I'm here. Is it me
Please
or
go
someone?
ahead.
That's for South Sudan.
So I'm not clear where Marianne's presentation begins. Do I start from Ihan Omar, from here? From Ashley?
Wait, it starts from, what do you call it? Let me see. I'm going to...
Miriam, please speak so that
It starts from Hawatako. It starts from Hawatako.
Okay. This one, no?
And the place I am is a bit noisy.
No problem.
Let me just step outside. The place I am is a bit noisy and I have no other place.
Okay.
Did you find Hawatako? Yeah, thank you.
The previous slide, Helen.
Previous, I'm on Hawatako, no?
No, she's right. Hawatako is the first person. Let me just try to step outside. Okay. And unfortunately, my legendary women that we are celebrating here in Somalia, and most of them passed away. May they rest in peace. But few are still intact. But the 7 that I have found, the prominent ones that who we are still following their footsteps are the ones that I have just written. So I'll go ahead and just mention a few things about them. So Hawatako is one of the iconic states in Somalia, who became formalized in the 1970 after the Siad Barre and took power in the military coup. President Barre's socialized regime capitalized on her. Am I speaking fast? Okay, she has. Okay, I'm trying to read the comment. I'm sorry. On her fame in order to identify this government as being supportive of women's interests and to attract the support of Somali women. Accordingly, she also he and Siad Barre condemned what Hawatako portrayed. Siad Barre condemned the exploitation of women.
Mayan, we are losing you.
Shit, someone just, I'm sorry, I'm connected to a very low Wi-Fi. Great, that's what the president, can anyone hear me, please? I lost connection and now I'm back.
Yeah,
Please
we can hear you now.
Thank you so much. So he condemned the exploitation of women in the family and the workplace on political grounds. So this is when the law which instituted the modernized code of family law was pronounced on the anniversary of Hawatako's death in 1975, which till today we still use the family law here in Somalia. So Barre announced the law by stating as from this day Somali men and women are equal. Oh God, so noisy. Equal 24 years after her death, Barre built a monument, which right now it is one of the monuments when the 9th president took over, that's Mohamed Farmajo, he put up the monument for Hawatako. It wasn't there before, but now she's well celebrated, and one of her monument is here in Mogadishu. So that is something about Hawatako. She also appears on the 100 shilling bill, carrying a rifle and a shovel with a baby strapped on her body, representing a vivid symbol of Somali women's courage. Kindly go ahead. Next, please. Before I lose internet and the place becomes noisy, I'm really sorry. But I hope you will have this presentation and you'll get more information about it. I'm still on Hawatako. Please go ahead. Who was I reading about?
It was Hawatako, but now just more about her. Let me see.
Okay, just can you just, okay, thank you. Hawa Abdi Diplawe, she was the first human rights activist, a physician, and also she was, oh my God.
So sorry, Mayan, for the struggle.
I'm sorry, I'm trying, God,
Please go ahead.
Go inside. I'm arranging for a digital right and inclusion forum. So there's something I'm building in the, before we go live coverage, I was arranging, I already told Esther, but I managed to come through and just present this presentation really quickly. So I was speaking about Hawa Abdi. Hawa Abdi was the first human rights activist and physician. She also built the first Hawa Abdi Foundation, a non-profit organization. Mostly it was more of health. So Hawa Abdi was born in Mogadishu. I will not go deep into that. She died recently, that is 2020. community, and she left a hospital that is really helping right now mothers and girls. And her daughter is the one that's running today at the hospital. So for her, Alice, she received a scholarship from Women Committee of the Soviet Union, and Hawa also subsequently studied medicine at Kiev Medical Institute. She was the first among the first women who graduated from university in Somalia, and her still legacy is still going on. The hospital is serving so many women and girls today here in Mogadishu, and her daughters are really the ones that's running the hospital today. So we are still looking up to Hawa Abdi, and we are following her footsteps. Her foundation was one of the foundations that really brought up the human rights activists, whereby they have been working on human rights issues. Kindly go next, please. Not the next person, but the next slide, if there is. Thank you. And I'm sorry for reading so fast. I'm just afraid for this place to be a bit noisy. Can we go ahead?
Yeah, just a moment. It's hung.
Thank you. How long?
No, I'm saying my laptop is hanging. I can't. It's not doing. It's not responding.
It's not responding?
Yeah, my laptop, not you. No, the problem is not it's the laptop.
Can you manage, please?
Just a moment.
Yes, I'm here.
No, it won't, Nene. It won't. It's refused. I have to upload again. Guys, I'm sorry. Okay.
I can really read from my what I have right now in front of me, same presentation.
But that's the next person, Queen Arawelo.
Okay, let me go. Queen Arawelo was her other name was Ebla Awad. Arawelo is a woman in a region mainly dominated by male. Is almost impossible to think of in case of Queen Arawelo had a really good story whereby most of the people till today rely on, whereby she is known to be the first feminist ruler in history, and the Somali queen that fully reversed gender roles in her kingdom. Arawelo was the eldest of the king's 3 daughters in the 15th century. When the king passed, Arawelo took the throne without asking. So that shows that she was she tried to rule by force, whereby she was not given to, because they were hoping that a boy or a man should be given. So she took it by force. Arawelo had always been a rebellious girl who never followed the social roles her position and gender dictated. She wanted to receive the same education of boys go to, and to take part in male everyday activity. For that reason, when she became queen, she decided she will give all girls the same opportunity. Okay, do I have another slide?
I love that queen. She should come to my country.
Okay. Am I? Yeah. There's opportunity. So who's next? Okay, Nale. Okay. This lady, she's really young and died at 43, and she really died recently. It was really a tremendous, really a sad day for all the Somalis from both national and international. So Hodan Nale is her name. She was a Somali Canadian media executive born in 1976 and later migrated to Canada with her family. Nale was a prominent Somali Canadian journalist who was passionate about depicting Somalia, a country long. She used to come to Somalia and document stories of how Somalia's situation is, show people the other good side of Somalia. So even though she lived in Canada, she was born there and born in Somalia and moved to Canada, but she used to come to Somalia and document stories, good stories about showing people what kind of Somalia is and what the media people are trying to portray. So she was also the founder of Integration TV, an online platform with millions of viewers on YouTube, which described itself as a building community of inspiring and uplifting stories for Somali worldwide. See, her stories were really inspiring. Nale was 43 when she died, may she rest in peace, she was also a powerful on social powerhouse on a social media, where she used to have a large following her large following to continue her theme of sharing a side Somali rarely seen in coverage in the country. Things that people don't really show on the media. Nale used to cover such stories and go to region by region in Somalia and cover stories and listen to people. She really changed so many people's life, and she died in a, there is a slide, please. I would like to say how she died. I'm really sorry. Okay. It was where she used to, okay. It doesn't show, but she died in a suicide attack that was in am I being heard, please? I'm losing network. Okay, the next person is Ali Hassan Abade. Am I being heard?
We lost you at some point, but we can hear you now.
Yes. Let's go ahead, please. And Ali Asli Abade, I was trying to say how Nale was killed. She was killed in a suicidal bomb in one of the regions in Somalia. So that's how she died. Anyway, Ali Hassan Abade is the first African woman Air Force pilot in all Africa and the Middle East. She's a Somali Air Force pilot, military figure, and a civil activist. She was the first and so far the only female pilot in Somali Air Force. Asli was popular in Somali Air Force, where she was a pilot from 1976 until the end of 1992. When civil war was finally crippled Somalia in the mid of 2000, Abade waged, now this is what Abade mostly was known of, waged a peace campaign encouraging lawmakers to come together and put an end to a long-lasting civil conflict in her native Somalia. In short, Asli was a peace building and peace activist. Go ahead, please. Next. This is one of our ladies that we still have who's going on strong and still performing. I haven't write much about her, but Ilhan Abdullahi Omar, we all know her. She's an American politician serving as the U.S. representative for Minnesota 5th Congressional District since 2019. She's a member of Democratic Labor Party, and I think she's really going on strong and really strong example to many Somali communities. She was brought up in a refugee camp, and she went to the U.S., migrated there, continued with her education, and today she is one of the representatives of the Minnesota 5th Congressional District since 2019. Kindly go ahead to my last slide. Sada Ali Warsame. This lady was killed also a few years back when she was a Somali American singer. Most of us music were more of what do you call talking about peace. She was, before she got killed, she was a politician. She served as a lawmaker in the federal government of Somalia, representing Puntland state of Somalia, a prominent figure in traditional Somali music. Her art and legislative work was centered on political and social justice. So her was really killed, what do you call, she was killed one of the Al-Shabaab coup, and so Sada Ali was really in political and performing well before she got killed. I'm really sorry, I've been reading these slides really fast, and it's because of the circumstances that right now that I'm on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayan. We appreciate you. Despite the struggle, you've been able to celebrate the powerful women from Somali, and the highlight from these stories is that even though some have actually migrated from Africa to other outside countries, they still come back to support their countries because they recognize their motherland and the kind of support that they need to also liberate their fellow Africans, but also women and girls. Thank you so much, Mayan. So to all participants in the room, I hope you're all listening to the stories. Kindly start sharing your input, comments, continue putting your comments and other stories in the chat box as we continue with the celebration. So next, I'd like to call Judy Lumumba to represent Kenya. So Judy, you're welcome. Please take 7 minutes to share the stories.
Okay, so thank you so much, Esther. And it's such a great day, and it's such a celebration, and I have really learned a lot. So to my slide, we are celebrating women in history. We have Catherine Nyambura Ndereba. As we all know that Kenya is much more celebrated and putting the flags high when it comes to sports, and especially in running long races, short races. And Catherine Dareb, I think we are celebrating her because she set the pace to other young women who are coming, to other young women who are venturing into sports. And she took over with a storm when she won a couple of marathons, for like the world marathon record in 2001, in Chicago marathon and other marathon. And apart from that, she really contributes in gender welfare in sports, and she fights so much for inclusivity. And indeed, we are seeing inclusivity in our sports and gender areas. Next slide. Wow. We are all, and we are so happy to celebrate Chief Justice Martha Koome. Martha Koome became the first woman in Kenya to be appointed as Chief Justice ever. And this really, when I was going through this, it really gave me, it really opened my eyes and to the world that indeed women can, indeed women are striving, indeed the acceleration of STEM is really at par. Indeed, SDGs is working, and indeed women are taking spaces. And we've read about Chief Justice Koome, and what most amazing is that she was the UN Person of the Year 2020 runner-up, recognized for her advocacy work to improve the rights of women and children in the justice system. And indeed, we are seeing changes in the justice system in Kenya, and we celebrate her to be the Chief Justice, the first female Chief Justice, and she actually has set a pace to other women in laws and in who are studying, the lawyers and the judges to come. Next slide, please. Martha Karua is our next woman we are celebrating, and indeed, as we all know, as Kenyan, she is commonly known as Iron Lady, and indeed she is an Iron Lady. Martha Karua is very tough when she talks. She knows what she wants, and I was watching some couple of days back an interview where she was asked in one of the national television that by the interviewer that do you see the the opportunity of female president in future? And she replied, these are not the exact words, but the context. She replied that why do we ask for future female president, and yet we don't ask for male future president? And I think that's very key. And she knows what she wants. And recently, she's the first woman to be how do we call it, as the vice for the coming election as a running mate, vice president, or a running mate to the coming election. And we hopefully and cross our hands, and maybe she might be the first female vice president in Kenya. Depending on this depends on the election, and depending on how voters will vote, but we really pray. According to me, I really pray so. But apart from that, she really she tabled different bills, and she also received support from women in the civil society as former MP women bodies such as Maendeleo ya Wanawake. She really steered Maendeleo ya Wanawake, And despite, unfortunately, that maendeleo ya wanawake did not hit the goal as it started, but Martha Karua were among the steering committee to see actually maendeleo ya wanawake. And according to me, I really feel that maendeleo ya wanawake has given birth to a lot of seats for women. It has given a lot of opportunity for women to run and others. Next, please. Sorry, I'm speaking too much. I'm speaking very quickly, but I hope this will be shared and each one of us will be able to read. Wow, we're diverting away from, we started with sports, we went to our justice system, we went to our politics. Now we are in media. One of the key or fundamental tools or fundamental key areas being looked upon in every African country. And Janet Mbugua she's a Kenyan personality brand ambassador, actress and author. As a news anchor, she served at KTN. But apart from that, Janet Mbugua, she has also reformed the empowerment of young female. She started a campaign dubbed Inua Dada by the First Lady Margaret Kenyatta. And Inua Dada Center in Korokocho slums. Korokocho slums is one. Korokocho slums is one of another fast growing slums in Kenya. And I think she realized the potential that lies in between the people, the young female, the young women from low income areas such as Korokocho and other slums, and her diverting her campaign, her diverting her focus to uplift the less forgotten or few forgotten one in the low income areas has really shifted the focus of media airing the struggles that the young women are facing and creating awareness of reproductive health and rights. Next, please. Our next woman of the day is Mary Sleso Orero-Gomanduli. Wow, she's a very stylish young, not young, but a very stylish one of a kind woman, and very powerful and outgoing. But unfortunately, she rested some years back in 2021, just the other year, at the age of 73, but very stylish. Orero Mandile was a renowned Kenya politician and the first woman rally driver in Kenya, the first. So apart from her being vocal, she was good on rally, and she attended a couple of rallies while she was alive. And she was the first Kenyan woman participant in East African Safari Rally. Yeah, all her life bounded around rallies and politics, but politics was not so much as the percentage that rallies took place. And in the course of her career, she served in the National Council of Non-Governmental Organization. And at the tender age of 16 years, while still in secondary school, she won the Miss Kenya Beauty pageant. And I think from her we are learning a lot that politics doesn't limit you, or no career can limit you to your passion. And as she served in politics, but she still dwelled in her passion for rallies. Our last women were Kipipiri women. They were 4. I just managed to take one picture. And the Kipipiri women was a group consisted of 4 women who were wives of the Mau Mau. The Mau Mau were a group of people who fought for liberation or the freedom of Kenya. And when Mau Mau is being mentioned, we all see men in our faces, but we forgot, we most of the time forget the faces of women, the role they played by being left behind with the children to take care of, the role that they played by cooking and taking the food to their men in the forest, the roles they played sometimes as spies, as defenders. Others even now came out and be part of Mau Mau to fight for the freedom. And the Kipipiri women really played a role. They were skilled in different skills. They had different skills. They participated differently in as much all the struggle they were going through. I think as Kenyans, as we're celebrating women, I think most of the roads are named after men. Most of the centers, most of the buildings are just or statue. I really long to see statue of our women, of the lady, the women, the Green Belt movement, the lady for environment. I've forgotten her name. But I long to see, when I was reading through Kipipiri women, I was going through our roads. I need to see roads named after our women. I need to see centers, statue for our women. And yes, Wangari Maathai, I really long to see, among all the statues we have in our CBDs, in our centers, in different counties, even women being represented, the likes of all women we have. And thank you for all women being celebrated today, including us, who are celebrating them. Thank you. That's my presentation from Kenya.
Thank you so much, Judy, for representing Kenya so well and highlighting some of our freedom fighters who at times, as you said, we never see them when we speak about freedom for Kenya or liberation for Africa as well. We always sing men because they're the ones who were documented and no women. Challenging those structures also begins by documenting our stories as women. So on to the next, let's have Nancy. Nancy Sereno.
Okay.
We are 5 minutes to 7:30. Sorry. So Nancy, kindly take 7 minutes, and we apologize that we are taking time. And I see participants are also dropping out. Kindly take 7 minutes. You're welcome, Nancy. Do we have Nancy?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please go ahead.
Sorry, my internet is a bit shaky. In case I go off, Eunice will take over. Okay. Hi, everyone, and happy Africa Day to each one of you. I'm representing South Sudan. First, I don't think if I'll follow. Okay, the introductory part, let me just summarize it as the South Sudanese women have played critical roles in efforts to achieve peace in South Sudan, yet their contributions have been under-recognized and under-documented. There's a lot of books and a lot of songs being sung by musicians, written books. It's only about the men, but then the women have been left out. So we go to the next slide. Just because of time, I don't want to go through all that. Next. Yes, we start with Angelina 10. That is our first Minister of Defense. She's the first female Minister of Defense in South Sudan. You know, that position has been put like it's the position for men, but then with this, it was for the first time we have a woman who is a Minister for Defense. Angelina Teng is a high-ranking member of Parliament of SPLM-IO, that is in the opposition political, and the current chairperson of the SDSR, board of the RXs. The RXs is the revitalized in South Sudan. During the RXs and the RR, we have the revitalized and the one which is not revitalized. If at all you've been following our peace processes, then you'll know all these RXs and the RXs. Then we go to next. Next, please.
I have moved. I'm on Sarah. It's not showing on your side?
It's not showing on my side.
Not sure why.
Okay, Sarah Yanath, she's a member of the SPLM during the CPA peace negotiation. She trained as part of the Women's Battalion during the war. Then she served in the former Upper Nile state as the deputy chairperson of the Upper Nile Legislative Assembly, and as a Minister of Social Development, participated in the RX's process as part of the SPLM-IO delegation, and she became part of the civil society during the RX's, of which she has signatory of the non-government control areas. So she's part, her signature is in our current constitution of South Sudan. And she's also the co-founder and executive director of the Gender Empowerment for South Sudan organization. And up to date, she's serving as the civil society representative to the ceasefire and transitional security monitoring and verification mechanism from 2018 up to date. We go to next. Ambassador Sitona Abdallah Osman. Hello.
We can hear you, Nancy.
Okay, Ambassador Sitona Abdallah is a member of the Katiba Banat Battalion and one of the founders of the multiple women's organization in the 1990s, including the new Sudan Women's Federation. She participated in the SPLA delegation during the CPA negotiation, and she's currently the Director General for Bilateral Relations in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, South Sudan. And to add on that, she is really there to support the young women lifting up their hands as well. We go to next.
Amazing.
Honorable Elizabeth Achano Guaro. She's a member of the National Transitional Legislative Assembly of South Sudan and a trained mediator and negotiator. On the national and local levels, Honorable Ogwaro has been instrumental in conflict resolutions between and among communities, especially in Eastern Equatorial State of South Sudan. She provides technical support to women members of parliament and local leaders, especially chiefs, to foster peace among their communities. Honorable Betty was one of the negotiators on peace settlement between the Lord's Residence Army LRA and government of Uganda, known as the Juba Turks. She and Bigombe are working hand in hand in that. Next, please. Suzanne Jambo. Suzanne Jambo is a member of SPLM, a permanent delegation during the CPA process and concurrently the coordinator of the NSA Civil Society Network. She's a politician, lawyer, and human rights campaigner. She served as the SPLA's secretary for the foreign relations, and then currently a political opponent of the incumbent president, having expressed interest in running for the presidency in the subsequently postponed 2018 South Sudanese general elections. Then we have our very own, Her Excellency the Vice President Rebecca Nyandeng Garang. That's the wife to our late John Garang. She participated in the liberation movement on the front lines during the civil war in Sudan as part of the SPLA. She served as the Minister of Roads and Transport of Southern Sudan in the Autonomous Government of Southern Sudan. 2005 to 2011, she participated in the R-Axis, signing it as one of the eminent personalities. She was also married to the late John Garang Di Mabior, the chairperson of the SPLM August. And currently she's the fourth vice president of South Sudan. We have five vice presidents in South Sudan. Then we have Mama Kezia Laingwa Nicodemus. Mama Kezia joined the liberation struggle in 1989 while she continued with a teaching career. And then in 1991, she was appointed chairperson of Meridi Women Association, where she actively began her political career by mobilizing women to support the movement. She was the first woman to serve as the Secretary for Women, Gender and Child Welfare, the institution that today has become the Ministry of Women, Gender and Child Welfare. She held this position until when the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, CPA 2005, was signed. Among many for contribution to the country, she organized the first National Women Conference held in Southern Blue Nile in 2009, and many more women conferences held before CPA 2005. Then in 2006, Mama Kezia was appointed to the Assembly in the Government of National Unity in Khartoum, and she served in the Assembly in Khartoum up to the time of the election in 2010. She then chose to retire from active politics. And her legacy has continued, though she's right now late. Then, yeah, thank you so much. This is all from Nancy, Pichiko, and Faida. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope I didn't wrap.
Thank you so much. So now, without wasting time, let's have Howie representing Ethiopia as our final presenter of the day. Howie?
Hello. Hey. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So my name is Howie Abarra. I am from Ethiopia and I work at I4C, East Africa Initiative for Change. I work as a program officer in research and documentation area. I'm very glad to be presenting this phenomenal woman of Ethiopia with you today. Even if it was hard to narrow the list to 7 because we have a lot of inspirational women here. So the first the first phenomenal woman that I'll be presenting will be Sahle-Work Zewde. Sahle-Work Zewde is an Ethiopian politician and diplomat who is the 5th president and the first woman president of Ethiopia. So she was recognized for her outstanding contribution to the empowerment of women in various fields in Ethiopia, Africa, and internationally, as well as to increasing women's participation in various economic, social, and political fields. So this is all about Sahle-Work. And the second is Martha Kuwe-Kumsa. Professor Martha Kuwe-Kumsa is a feminist, writer, journalist, and academician. She is a feminist specializing in the Oromo culture and immigrant identity. She has influenced a lot of young girls. Me personally, she is my role model. And the next will be Professor Alam-Tsahai Mekonnen. Alam-Tsahai Mekonnen is the first female professor and scientist in Ethiopia. She is a scientist in human physiology, and she has inspired a lot of young girls to pursue their dreams of being scientists. The next will be the next slide, please.
I think my laptop is also hanged, so just go on, I'll share.
Okay. Okay, the next will be Fraweni Mabrahatu. Fraweni Merhatu is an Ethiopian chemical engineer and inventor who won the 2019 CNN Hero of the Year award for her activism in improving girls' access to education. She has dedicated her life to keeping girls in school by designing a reusable menstrual pad and trying to end the cultural stigma. And the next will be Derartu Tullu. Derartu Tullu is an athlete. She is a former long distance runner who competed in track, cross running, and road running up to the marathon distance. She currently serves as the president of Ethiopian Athletics Federation. She has a great personality and she does a lot of charitable work. And the next will be Burtukan Mideksa. Burtukan Mideksa is an Ethiopian politician and former judge who is serving as a chairwoman of the National Election Board of Ethiopia since 2018. She has done a lot of work in empowering women. Most of her staff, more than half of her staff are women, because this is because of her strong leadership in challenging the system. And the last but not least will be Fatin Abai. She is the first female lecturer at Makale University. She is a professor of crop science at Makale, undertaking research on preparatory plant breeding. She has done a lot of mentoring in the university. I myself was a student at Makale University, and I have gotten the chance to be part of her mentorship program. She's an amazing woman and she inspires me a lot. Finally, I would like to thank the Accelerator team for organizing this event. And I'm sorry, someone is. Can you mute her?
Hi, Winnie, please mute yourself.
Cool. Okay, thank you. Finally, I would like to thank the Advocacy Accelerating team for organizing this event, and happy Liberation Week, everyone. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you so much, Howie, for that great presentation, for the research, for acknowledging the women who've come before us and those who are part of us in the struggle towards the liberation of women and girls. However, we are happy that women is off the, Africa is off the colonizer, even though we have neocolonialism right now that actually reflects in our day-to-day and continue to affect the livelihoods of women and girls. But we say we are on the road, we are in a journey, so we are still towards the full liberation of our economy, full liberation of our Africanism, the full liberation of women and girls taking up leadership without any question. So now I'd like to request Brandy to take just a minute to summarize some of the information on our chat box before we can just take 2 minutes to listen to this poem by a young woman, African woman, before we can proceed to our pledges.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you, Shailene. This has been such a great session. You can see we've had great presentations from each country here. And we could also, I want to go straight away to the charts. There are lots of other women names that came up, and people also engaging in celebrating and including points that maybe weren't included, like someone, sorry, I can't get this name right, but someone Kulube added added a point on Winnie Banyima recently sharing a very powerful speech about racism and vaccine access. And there was also Betty Bigombe being a powerhouse as well, who is celebrated in South Sudan. And there was also a contribution from Melvin Obola, who celebrates Lynette Walters, who is a young feminist contributing in grassroots young feminist organization, SRHR, and generally fighting for women and girls' rights. So generally, we've seen how lots of these women are celebrated, how they've worked in their communities, and without wasting time, we'll capture all this in our reports, and without wasting time, I want us to go straight to listen to this wonderful poem about the African child.
Thank you, Brandy. So the title of this is The African Child Will Dance. I guess this was the Liberation by Natasha Muhoza. So you can also have time to just go through it at your own leisure after this. Can everybody see and hear?
Yes.
Yes.
I met a man who believed differently from me. I met a woman who merely conformed to the norm. And I met a people who didn't know any better. For Africa to them was just a dark continent. But Africa to me was home. In my dreams, my reflections, in my history, I met them. I met settlers journeying through a foreign land, governing to fulfill foreign demands, scripting my future while unwriting my destiny. Hoping that I too someday will see that white skin is worth what black skin must pay. I intruded this chaos. I made them my friends. I sang to them a revolution song that was burning deep inside my breast. I sang, "This is a celebration for the African child." I hear the voices calling, whispers from history saying that the African child shall dance. We speak of you, Mama Land, what our ancestors have said of you. We dance to your drumbeat, hills, rivers, lakes, plains, and farms, all that tell of your story. The music in our streets, markets and malls, taxis and motos, all that tell of your story. Turakuvuga, ibyo basogokuruza bakuvugaga. The wisdom of all reminds us of the struggle of your womb. We are told to sing. We are told to tell that the African child shall dance. Ushindi, Insinzi, Ukunkoba, Nunkin. This is the wealth of our home. This is the victory we declare. That Africa, Mama Africa, shall rise from the ashes of distorted history, images of lost hope and poverty. Africa shall rise from the shackles of adversity. We choose to rise from the slavery of conformity, rising to self-worth, for ours is a song of resilience. We choose that the African child shall dance. African boy in 1964. Young and orphaned at 16. Refugee in neighboring Burundi. Bare feet, but proud of his heritage. He looks down at himself, his hands rough with calluses. But these are his marks of survival. The evidence of life within his dreams. Evidence that a country, not a refugee camp, is his home. He stores his wealth in the treasure chest of his history, returning to his identity to find that what father said holds true. The African boy will dance. African girl in 1914 gracefully walks past the village boys. Loincloth clad with a basket on her head, she sways back home to mother. Head up high, her curves, her braids, bright white teeth in the steps of her feet, inviting ululations, for she carries her freedom, her womanhood, her pride when she remembers that, it is time for celebration. Even the African girl shall dance. See, today is our day. Maria Makeba, Thomas Sankara, Chinua Achebe, the great voices of our land have sang, spoken and written of sacrifice and struggle, of valid hopes and dreams for the African child. So this is the victory we declare. That the African child shall dance, dance, dance.
Yes, the African child shall dance, and we'll dance today, we'll dance tomorrow, we'll dance each and every day as we celebrate our liberation, celebrate our achievements as young activists within the struggle, but also learn through the process and also pave way or mentor other younger generations into the spaces to ensure that the work does not stop at any moment until all women and girls are liberated. We quickly go into sharing our commitments. So Esther, you'll help me. I guess Esther or Brandy can just read them through quickly because of time, and then we will close with a dance at the end of it. Esther, Brandy.
Shailene, not sure about the time to allow up to dance. We can agree, maybe do it tomorrow. But can we just have 5 people offer to share their pledges with us in this session?
Okay,
5
great.
people.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Sawa. So what's the order, Helen? What do we do?
Any 5 people. Okay. Anyone who is ready, please read for us your pledge. No one wants to go?
Can I go?
Yes, please do that.
Okay, thank you. So this is Karen. I work from Nairobi, Kenya, and I pledge to mentor and educate young women and girls so as to enable them to recognize and challenge oppressive systems and structures and to rise above stereotypes that are always like putting them down. Of course, I'm already doing this, but I pledge to do even more. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. We celebrate you. Someone else?
They can
I think people don't have to pledges. I can read through. Let me go back to, who was that, Sharon? I think I'm also stuck. So this
you can't read all, just read few.
This is Selemawit Teresa. She says that she pledges to ensure young women feel safe while navigating online. So safe spaces online.
Nice.
Okay. Let me read the other one. I just got lost of it. Ruth Tech says, I pledge to amplify women voices in every space I occupy. Marian says, I pledge to fight for the rights of young feminists in Somalia and build a sustainable network that promotes sisterhood, empowerment, and protection.
Wow.
Powerful.
Monica Patrick from Tanzania, she says that I pledge to keep educating girls and women on their rights and keep fighting for girls' liberation. Judy Lumumba from Kenya says, I pledge to ensure my internal peace is in existence to enable keep external peace in existence. And then, of course, we have our moderator, Shailene Momanyi says, I pledge to staying true to the struggle towards the liberation of women and girls.
Wow.
Sharon Jelagat says, I pledge to continue to speak up and stand up for the rights of women and girls, continue creating equal opportunities and continue and creating spaces for the young feminists to thrive. And then we have Magdalene Thomas from Tanzania. She says, I pledge that feminist knowledge should be contextualized according to the country's culture and norms. I pledge that there should be more feminist safe spaces where everyone can learn and explore without being judged or experience stigma. Pitiko Eunice, I think is from South Sudan, says that I pledge to ensure women and girls know their sexual reproductive health rights and ensure women and ensure, I don't know, so I can get that right. And support each other from abusive relationships, or report and support each other from abusive relationships. Yes, those are the few I can read. Let me see if I forgot another one.
That should be good enough.
Let me just read.
There's one from Nancy.
Nancy Cirino from South Sudan says, I pledge to mentor more young girls to be more confident and know their rights. And Berite from Ethiopia says, I pledge to undo status quo and privilege in whatever form they exist. The last one, Howie says, I pledge to share my experiences and mentor young girls so that they become aware of their rights and challenge the patriarchy. Okay, the very last one. Winning Gigi says, I pledge to challenge all forms of societal patriarchy in the judicial system. That's all.
Thank you, Esther. And thank you everyone who spared the 1 hour and 55 minutes to celebrate other women, other girls, and as well as ourselves in the work that we do. But also, as we celebrate today, pledge or commit something. What are you gonna do to support the struggle, to support the movement in realizing full liberation and the African Revolution? So thank you so much for having me. I'll give it back to Esther, Helen, or Brandy to close the meeting. Asante sana, and have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you everyone. We really appreciate you joining in.
Thank you so much. We had a
in
wonderful
the
day.
chat.
It was a wonderful presentation.
Yes. Please share your Twitter handle and follow the discussion as the week goes on at Strong Advocacy, at an hashtag African Liberation Day, hashtag African Liberation Week, hashtag Africans for Africans. Let's keep the conversation going on Twitter, on LinkedIn.
I think the pledge by Elizabeth is nice on the charts. I pledge to always make sure I am not the only woman in the room, to keep doing my work, to ensuring that women do not have to explain why they said no. Love it. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you everyone for joining. Waiting for a song as we dance.
We will keep the pledges in the platform. So I have seen the team, Esther and Brandy, are working on designing them. Then they can share it with you and you can post them on your profiles in the online platforms. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
I thought you said there's music.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We are not dancing.
Thank you,
Yeah, I thought
everyone. Bye.
Ganesh is telling us bye.
Randy.
Dance tomorrow.
Oh, we'll dance tomorrow.
We'll
Yeah,
dance
because of
tomorrow.
time. Yeah,
We'll
sorry
make
guys.
sure we do that.
We will.
Okay, thank you guys. Have a
Okay,
good
thank
night.
you, Melvin, for joining
Good night,
us.
everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
It was so amazing.
Good
Learning
night.
about those liberators. Great work.